Hello everyone, I am so happy to see you again. Today we need to finish harvesting the potatoes and onions that you and I planted together last spring. And then for an early supper we are going to make cheddar and ale onion soup. And since it's chilly outside, we can enjoy our soup in front of the fire. Let me grab some tools and we can head up to the kitchen garden. I'm really enjoying the cool September weather here in New York's Hudson River Valley. It's the perfect weather for harvesting an abundance of summer vegetables. Today, we are harvesting red and gold potatoes, red and yellow onions, and some dazzling purple zinnias. We got a lot of potatoes, and then I have some tomatoes on these vines that are definitely ready to harvest, but I will have to come up later today with another basket and maybe a bucket. I have set the onions and potatoes to cure. They need to cure for about 2 weeks before I can put them in storage. Meantime, I have some other onions that you and I harvested several weeks ago that are already cured, and we're going to use these today for the cheddar and ale onion soup. And I need to slice these very thinly, so first I need to sharpen my knife. And this is my trusty little knife sharpener here. It's the best sharpener I have ever owned. So you hold the knife this way to sharpen, and then you hold it this way to hone. And then you squeeze these little gadgets together to polish the knife. Let's test the sharpness of this knife. It's sharp. I need to wash this knife now. I also changed my clothes because from now on we will be working indoors. So for this recipe, I'm guessing 4 large onions or 6 or 7 medium onions. These onions are, I would say, medium size. This knife is going through the onions like a hot knife through butter. I'm going to save the onion skins for vegetable stock. Onion skins give vegetable stock a beautiful deep yellow color. I just put them in a bag and then I freeze them. Spoiler alert, this soup turned out even better than I could have imagined. I hope you will give it a try someday. This looks like a mountain of onions, but after I caramelize them, they will cook down to almost nothing. And I wanted to mention that I learned about this soup when I was in Manchester, Vermont last week. I went to my favorite dining haunt called the Old Tavern, and I had cheddar and ale onion soup for the first course. It was absolutely delicious, and I knew immediately that I wanted to reproduce the soup for you. Let's head over to the stovetop. Butter and olive oil. Onions. Toss to coat. I'm going to stir the onions from time to time until they caramelize. That's going to take, probably 30 minutes or maybe even 45 minutes. While the onions are caramelizing, we can go ahead and arrange the zinnias that we harvested a short time ago. And I did cut some upright yew from my garden because I always like to arrange flowers with greens. This is probably the 7th time that I have made an arrangement with these purple print zinnias, but I have the flowers, so I need to use them. Flower preservative. Hold on a moment while I stir the onions. Well, I think this looks perfectly acceptable for free flowers and greens. I'm going to clean up my workstation. This flower didn't make it. And then we can go back to our soup. I forgot that I have some greens. I think this is it lemon leaf, that I bought 2 weeks ago at a local flower shop. Well, you were on that trip with me, and I didn't use them in that day's arrangement, so we might as well add them to this arrangement. There we go. Onions are ready. So these onions have sweetly caramelized. I'm going to add a generous tablespoon of flour, which will thicken the liquid. Stir that in. Let the flour cook for about 1 minute while stirring. Now I'm adding a generous pinch of herbes de Provence. You could use just dried thyme leaves here. 2 cups, or about 500 grams of chicken stock. You could use vegetable stock. And about 1 cup of beer or ale. We also need a generous pinch of salt and grinds of black pepper. And then I'm going to bring this to a boil. And this mixture looks a little thicker than I would like, so I'm going to thin it out with more beer. I ended up using an entire 14.9 ounce can of beer for this recipe. When the soup achieves a boil, cover the pot, lower the heat, and let it simmer for 30 minutes. When I had this soup at the Old Tavern in Manchester, Vermont, it was garnished with bruschetta, by which I mean slices of a baguette that were topped with cheddar cheese and browned under a broiler, I assume. So I have my cheddar cheese here. And here's the baguette. We can put the baguette slices on a baking tray. Drizzle each with extra virgin olive oil. For extra flavor, I'm going to add some oregano. And then we can top each slice of the baguette with some of the cheddar cheese. Now we can pop these under the broiler until the baguette turns crispy and the cheese melts. I am placing the baguette slices about 10 inches beneath the broiling element. I wanted to show you that when I was in Manchester, I stopped by the Le Creuset outlet store and I bought some nifty items. French onion soup pots. So these have a handle. They're actually good size. I'm going to wash 2 of them very quickly for our soup. Kindling for the fireplace. What's wonderful about these little pots is that they can go into the oven. So you could make this soup and assemble the soup bowls well ahead of time and just pop them into a 200-degree Fahrenheit or 90-degree Celsius oven shortly before serving time. I need my croutons or my bruschetta. And you definitely want the croutons because they will absorb the liquid in the soup. I'm going to add some more cheddar cheese to each crouton. And these can go into the oven while I light a fire. I'm serving claret with this meal, this very simple meal. As you have probably guessed by now, this is essentially French onion soup, except instead of using beef stock and cognac, we used chicken stock and beer. And instead of using Gruyere on our croutons or bruschetta, we used cheddar cheese. And how does it taste? If it tastes as good as it smells, this is going to be wonderful. Oh, look at this melty cheese. Oh my goodness. I have to say, this is even better than the cheddar and ale soup that I had at the Old Tavern in Manchester, Vermont. How do I describe the flavor to you? Well, it's a very deep flavor because of the caramelized onions and because of the dark beer that I used. It's as exquisite can be. And of course, the croutons have softened very pleasantly as they sat in this wonderful liqueur. This truly is amazing. I will put the recipe for this soup over on my website, and I will link my website in the description box below. Not to belabor the point, but this really is the best onion soup I have ever tasted, let alone made. And in closing, I'd like to mention that I really don't know why so many restaurants list French onion soup under the appetizer menu. This is not an appetizer or a starter course. It is a complete meal. Thank you so much for spending time with me today as we harvested potatoes and onions and the zinnias that we used in this very simple arrangement. I really cherish your company. We post 2 videos each week, one usually on Thursday or Friday, and then always on a Sunday. So if you have not yet subscribed, I hope you will do so. And please leave a comment below because I love hearing from you. Again, thank you for hanging out with me today, and I will see you on Sunday. Cheers, friends.